Hello everyone! The book that I chose to read for our book review assignment was Learning First, Technology Second, The Educator's Guide to Designing Authentic Lessons by Liz Kolb. Liz Kolb is a clinical associate professor of education technologies at the University of Michigan. There, she teaches several courses in education technology for the undergraduate elementary program, undergraduate secondary program, and master's and certification programs. She authored several other books, all in the area of technology and using cell phones in the classroom. So she also has Toys to Tools, Connecting Student Cell Phones to Education, Cell Phones in the Classroom, a practical guide for the K-12 educator, and Help Your Child Learn with Their Cell Phone and Web 2.0. Now, a theme that I gathered while reading the book was that learning should always come first. She really focused on the importance of learning. She was a middle school and high school social studies teacher who used technology in her own classroom to engage her students with their learning, or in their learning. But she found that oftentimes, or at least at the beginning, students weren't really engaged with the actual learning so much as the technology in front of them. So this led Liz to create the EEE framework, in which she builds upon other frameworks that are often conceptual. So in theory, they sound really great, but they're not so practical. It's more difficult to kind of carry out that type of framework, such as TPACK, TIM, and SAMR. In this book, Kolb continues to define learning goals as more important than technology. Technology can engage students, but that doesn't necessarily mean they are engaged in their learning. Kolb states over and over again that good pedagogy and strategies are necessary to ensure that actual learning is taking place when using technology. So a basic overall summary of the content in the book. Kolb starts out in their first few chapters kind of discussing her background and the other frameworks and what they're all about, and she doesn't necessarily point out their shortcomings, but she lays them down as a basis and an inspiration for her own. She goes on in, I think, starting the 4th chapter to discuss the EEE framework and its emphasis on focusing on learning goals and not just engagement in the technology. She reviews each of the elements that are part of the framework, such as, well, we have EEE, engagement, enhancement, and extension. For engagement, it's really focusing on keeping kids focused on and participating in a lesson. Enhancement is using technology to add value to learning, and that could be by adding supports and scaffolds. And then extension, the ability for technology to bridge classroom learning to students' everyday lives. The best lesson using technology should include each of these elements in order to be an effective lesson that keeps learning goals at the forefront. Now, Kolb uses research that is authentic and evidence-based in order to mold the EEE framework. She gives strategies to help with making lessons engaging when technology lacks social engagement, provides examples of software that allow for enhancement, and provides opportunities for the reader to play a role in planning an effective lesson that uses technology in the proper way by providing scenarios in which certain elements of the EEE framework may be missing. She acknowledges that there are times when technology may not be the right choice for teaching a certain lesson, and to be mindful of that as educators. In this book, when you're reading it, it's not just, oh, I'm reading this information. She really engages the reader in the text by those scenarios allow for you to search your own mind and think of how you can make a lesson even better. So she'll kind of give you a basic framework of, well, this is what the lesson is, maybe what's missing. And by doing that, it keeps the reader's interest, and it helps you as an educator to really think about maybe the lessons that you've planned in the past that have not been as great as you expected them to be. She allows you to kind of reflect on that and really think about, well, what could I do better next time, and how could I do that? She gives a lot of strategies that help, and she also provides research that really defends what she's saying in the book. I wanted to include one of the strategies that stood out to me while I was reading. So she gave an awesome example of a support strategy that defines using technology in an effective way. So I teach special education, but I am highly qualified in English. So this strategy really stuck out to me. And the strategy is called switcheroo. So students start out working independently on technology, such as working alone on a Google Doc, maybe writing a story. Then students switch, after a certain amount of time, students switch their device with a partner. So whether that be like their elbow partner or maybe someone who's sitting at their table group, they switch their devices, and then their partner either gives feedback, so they read what is written, and they maybe suggest something that could be better or compliment their partner on what they did great. Or, I really like this option or alternative, is that their partner adds to their writing. This activity is something that could be really fun and also encourages students to reflect on what they are learning. So it's a great way to incorporate the technology into a lesson, but also really keeping to the core of what that learning goal was. My overall evaluation of this book is that I enjoyed it. When I was looking through the list and trying to pick something that wasn't already chosen, I wasn't really expecting to be as interested in it as I found myself to be. Don't get me wrong, I think that technology is a great tool, but when used alone, it can definitely prove to be distracting. Kolb gives good guidelines of how to create a lesson that uses technology in a truly effective manner. Students should be engaged, but in the learning, and not just the technology they're using to support their learning. Technology should enhance the student's learning by providing a tool for adding value rather than just fun. And a good technology lesson should also extend the student's learning by allowing them to use what they learned and apply it toward a real-life activity. I think that in the midst of everything that's going on, this class and reading this book will allow me to create lessons that are remotely learning effective in a hopefully positive and engaging way. So I recommend this book. I think it's a good one. Thank you for listening.